Other big story coming from the Apex Court this morning. Anurag Thakur to be present before Lodha panel and comply with the recommendations. The independent auditor has been set to scrutinize accounts of BCCI. Lodha panel will be appointing the independent auditor. The Supreme Court has said no single penny to be given to state associations until they comply with Lodha panel reform. Supreme Court is set to apprise the ICC chairman Shashank Manohar of the recent court orders. The relief given for 2 weeks for Anurag Thakur to fall in line and to accept all of Lodha reforms, which includes a fixed tenure for the BCCI top officials, which includes one state, one vote. So far, Anurag Thakur has been defined. Even in the multiple general body meetings that have been called, Anurag Thakur has refused to comply with Lodha panel reforms. BCCI order details are as follows. The key takeaways is BCCI has been ordered that there will be an independent auditor to monitor the financial transactions of the BCCI, setting a threshold beyond which BCCI will have to take permission from the Lodha panel. So they are keeping a lid and tightening the leash on the financial might which has been enjoyed by the BCCI so far. Boria Mazumdar joining us on the story. So Boria, what are you getting to know from the BCCI? What are the whispers coming out on the court's hard observations?
Yeah, I spoke to a couple of state associations in the last 10 minutes before us, when you and I were talking about the story. And they are seriously now sort of feeling the heat, because at some point in time, firstly, not all associations are prosperous. Secondly, they are saying whatever funds they have will run out. And this is basically the Supreme Court tightening the leash on every state association. What is also interesting is the Supreme Court order will be sent to the ICC. So this is a clear indication that they do not trust the BCCI, rather its president, Anurag Thakur, based on the David Richardson interview which was given to India Today. That is also mentioned in the order very clearly, that a copy of the order, Devina, will be now sent to the ICC to tell the ICC what kind of a contract the BCCI is entering into. And the fact that every 10 lakh rupees or above deal will have to be approved and ratified by the Lodha committee means practically everything has to be ratified by them. An Indian cricketer gets 15 lakh rupees per test match. So you can imagine the financial autonomy of the BCCI, which is what gives it might and everything else, is now practically gone. So this is very stringent order. I mean, the reason the Supreme Court has given the board 2 weeks is because Kapil Sibal said that they want to comply. But if they continue to not comply in the next 2 weeks, something drastic is definitely happening. I do think that the BCCI is gradually losing its footing in every sense.
All right, let me go across on that point to my colleague Anusha, also Boria, be with us. Anusha, first of all, take us through the key observations of the Apex Court this morning.
Well, Devina, as we have been telling our viewers, the 4 essential points are that the Lodha panel, along with an independent auditor, the newly appointed independent auditor, have been given powers to oversee the financial transactions and the contracts entered into by the BCCI. The financial threshold of what is to be, approved and what sort of contracts they can enter into, that threshold is yet to be decided by the Lodha panel and the auditor. They will decide that beyond this point, there has to be an approval that has to be taken. The flow of money to the state associations continue to be choked. The Supreme Court has reiterated that no money has to be given to the state associations till they comply. Very interestingly, a copy of this order will also be sent to the ICC. We must remember that the court had asked the BCCI President Anurag Thakur to file an affidavit to clarify that did he at any point approach the ICC to write to the Lodha panel or to write to the Supreme Court that, appointing a government officer or initiating this reform process is interference by the government. So there is clearly a trust deficit between the BCCI, the Lodha panel and the Apex Court. The court is directly sending a copy of this order to the ICC because a lot of, crores of contracts are entered into with the help of ICC by the BCCI. So this is gradual frustration that both the Supreme Court and the BCCI are doing, taking small steps to choke the BCCI, to choke them of their financial autonomy and power, to make them succumb to the directions of the Lodha panel and to initiate the reform process.
So Anurag Thakur completely cornered this morning with the court's observation. As Anusha, you're pointing out, a court's observation copy has been sent to ICC and Boria has been talking about it. Now, Boria, it's a major embarrassment also for a BCCI as a cricket body which has enjoyed a tremendous clout within the ICC as well. And if the financial prowess is curtailed as per the court's observation of the BCCI, that means that it's a tough time ahead for the cricketing body. Also cutting across to a reaction coming in. We were just listening to the reaction of Aditya Verma, Secretary of Bihar Cricket Association. The original petition in the BCCI case going across to Madan Lal's former cricketer is joining us. Mr. Lal, good morning. Thank you for speaking to India today. Your first response to court's observation of imposing an independent auditor. How will that now impact cricket in India?
I think BCCI is making a big mistake. Like they should have listened to the Supreme Court and. Other thing is they have messed up everything, BCCI. Like the problem is with the BCCI because there is the people who are sitting there for the last 50 years, 40 years, 30 years. They doesn't want to leave that place because once they leave, they have nothing to do. So that, I think it's amazing to look at these people, how they behave. But BCCI should have done much better than whatever they're doing at the moment.
But Mr. Lal, here is the other argument, and the counter to that is that it was the autonomy that the BCCI enjoyed which helped cricket reach the zenith in India. So by curtailing the financial freedom of the board, are we looking at deterioration of the game?
No, I don't think so, deterioration, because the Supreme Court is not trying to tell you we will run the board. The Supreme Court is telling you to clean up the claim. That's what they are saying. But definitely, the Supreme Court has to do something. If they don't listen to it, the Supreme Court is the highest power in our country. But somehow, a couple of the associations, they are not listening to them. So I think, my point of view, I think the BCCI is going to fight it till the end. That's what I look at it in this way.
All right, and also, Mr. Lal, where do you see now Anurag Thakur's response coming? Because he so far led the bastion saying that we will not implement the key reforms like one state, one vote, will not implement a fixed tenure for the BCCI officials. Does he have any option left now?
Well, I don't think he has any option left. First of all, when the Lodha committee called 200, 300 people, to listen to them, to what we should do in cricket and how we can make a better manage. So that time they were not here because they thought, it's okay, but I think at the moment, Anurag Thakur, let's see what the Supreme Court takes on to him. That's very important. But he's in a mess at the moment.
All right, thank you for speaking to India today, Mr. Lal. The next hearing of the court is on December 5th, but it's given more seats to Lodha panel to oversee financial transaction beyond accepted threshold, and that threshold will be set by the auditor which has been appointed by the court and Lodha panel. No funds to state associations till BCCI falls in line. Anusha and Boria continue to be with us, but we take a short break. It's a big story we are tracking. The apex court cracking the whip on the BCCI, giving them just 2 weeks to fall in line. 3 big takeaways of the court's observation this morning. First, BCCI given 2 weeks to implement Lodha panel reforms. Second big takeaway, state association won't get any funds till the time BCCI complies. And third, an independent auditor will be appointed with Lodha panel and the apex court in conjunction to look over financial transactions of the board. With us, Chetan Chauhan, former cricketer. Mr. Chauhan, as we've been talking, this is unprecedented, isn't it, to have an independent auditor appointed over the cricketing premium body in India?
See, I don't see anything wrong. Of course, maybe this is a sort of a check on the flow and the expenses of the BCCI. It's just that BCCI has already committed to the Supreme Court that they will appoint somebody very genuine and very high-ranking auditors to look after, and at the moment also the auditors are of repute who are doing the auditing of the BCCI. So maybe this is just an extra, I would say, authority which is being put on the BCCI. But I think the matter has become very clear, and if there are 2 weeks, I would still suggest, to the BCCI, and also would request the Supreme Court Lodha committee, if a few few recommendations which are there of the Lodha committee, if they can be re-looked into and rethought into, maybe that there would be a compromise. That would be the best
But do you
way
believe
of
there's a room to
going in the interest
compromise,
of cricket.
Mr.
In the
Chauhan? Do you
interest
believe
of
there's a room
cricket.
to compromise? Because already in his affidavit,
It is a bit
Anurag
difficult
Thakur has mentioned that he had sought a clarification from the ICC CEO Shashank Manohar on whether Justice Lodha Committee's reforms amounted to interfering with running of the BCCI. The BCCI is looking for autonomy, but clearly when they're autonomous, they are leading to a big mess because of which the court had to intervene.
Well, see, the matter is in the court. It is in the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the country. And courts interfere when there is a public opinion or there are things which are wrong, which are serious in nature. There is hue and cry in the country, and match fixing and things like that. You see,
Okay, all right.
They were definitely very serious in nature, and
All
that's
right.
how the courts have come in the picture.
Okay, Mr. Chauhan, appreciate you joining us. Also, Kirti Azad joining us at this point of time. Mr. Azad, how do you look at the court's observation this morning? Do you believe now BCCI has no option but to comply with Lodha panel reforms, and we're looking at a completely changed BCCI after that?
No, I must tell you, my stand's been vindicated. I've lost a lot in my life fighting this menace called BCCI. Secondly, Mr. Chetan Chauhan should know it's an order. It's not they are looking into the matter. It's an order, and the order has to be complied with. The BCCI earlier used to use, abuse, misuse the government machinery. They thought that executive orders can really be put aside, but they didn't realize it was the order of the Honorable Supreme Court. And once an order, judicial order is there, you have to follow. You have to fall in line. I always call them United Alliance, United in Corruption Alliances for positions. So I'm very happy. My
So
stance
Mr.
is
Azad, do you believe the
vindicated,
days
and ultimately I've won.
do you believe the days of BCCI threatening to call off series against Kiwis that had happened last time, the days of scuttling court order is completely over? It's end game. Anurag Thakur, as we're looking at it right now, as he has been defiant in implementing Lodha reforms, trying to also look around for the loopholes to get out of this mess.
Well, this is all Gidar Bhapki, that's called in Hindi. I'll tell you, even DDCA didn't have any money, but they managed to do it. They haven't been given money for the last 3 years. And thanks to Justice Mudgil, who for the first time in all the matches that he was administering, they got profits. So
But what about the BCCI, Mr. Azad? Because you have an independent auditor looking into financial transactions, state association not getting any funds till they fall in line. It is unprecedented for a cricketing body that has enjoyed autonomy for such a long time to have an independent auditor looking over its financial might.
Yeah, I think if you know saying in Hindi, "Ab aaya hai oont pahad ke niche," these people always were blackmailing. They are blackmailers. They basically think they are God gift to India to run cricket. And if you see that they were tailors and drapers and stationers who become really big, and who better than Mr. Chauhan would know, who's sitting next to you, that how tailors and drapers have really made hay while the sun shines. So these people now, the auditors in, all the round tripping of money for fraud companies that have been there. Once I had a discussion on the same channel when Karan Thapar was doing his To The Point, where I asked Mr. Chetan Chauhan a lot of questions and he didn't have an answer, and he didn't even know that they have never posted a single profit till Justice Mudgil came.
So a lot of skeletons looking to tumble out. Mr. Azad, thank you for joining us. Strong words also coming from Mr. Azad over BCCI's order. It's now time to clean up the system. We take a very short break.